All right, today we're going to dive into what is honestly one of the most powerful and just gut-wrenching short poems out there, Chinua Achebe's Refugee Mother and Child. It's incredible how he takes this scene of just profound suffering and turns it into something, a timeless testament to human dignity. It's really something else.
So the poem just kicks off with this incredibly bold comparison. Right away, Achebe sets up this contrast between, that classic, idealized, almost holy image of the Madonna and Child and the raw, tragic reality he's about to show us. He's basically telling us from line 1, forget the paintings. What you're about to see is more real, more touching than any of that. And that contrast, right there, that's where the real power of this poem is. See, Achebe isn't just painting a sad picture. He's actually elevating the love of this specific, unnamed refugee mother. He's suggesting that her tenderness, in the middle of absolute hell, is somehow more profound, more real, than all those perfect, serene paintings we see of divine motherhood. I mean, what a bold, deeply human thing to say right at the start.
But to really, truly feel the weight of these words, you have to understand the world this poem came from. This isn't just an exercise in poetry, it's a testimony. It was born from one of the most devastating conflicts of the 20th century. So we're talking about the Nigerian Civil War, also known as the Biafran War. And Chinua Achebe, well, he was an Igbo, the very people who were fighting for an independent Biafra. He wasn't some distant observer. He was a direct witness to all of it. And this poem, it was published in 1971, just 1 year after the war ended. So all that emotional power, it's drawn directly from the horrors he saw with his own eyes. And the scale of that horror, it's just staggering. We're talking about over 1 million civilians dead. And here's the kicker. Most of them didn't die from bullets or bombs. They died from a crushing blockade that led to mass starvation. That's the backdrop of suffering. That's what breathes through every single line of this poem.
Okay, so with that context in mind, let's really get into the core of the poem. Let's see how Achebe uses these really stark, unflinching details to just drop us right into this refugee camp. He doesn't just say, hey, it was terrible. No, he makes you feel it. He makes you experience it with your senses.
And wow, he immediately grounds us in this grim reality with the sense of smell. Think about that. This is absolutely not some cleaned up, sanitized picture of suffering. The air itself is described as heavy, like it's literally weighed down by the signs of disease and decay. It's such an unforgettable and honestly a deeply unsettling image.
There's a literary term for this. It's called olfactory imagery. And it's so effective because it makes the suffering completely inescapable. With a picture, you can look away, right? But with a smell, Achebe forces you to almost inhale the tragedy of the camp. It makes it all feel so much more immediate, so much more real.
And then, just after hitting our sense of smell, he assaults our eyes. The way he describes the children is just brutally precise. Washed out ribs, blown empty bellies. These aren't just poetic phrases. They're almost clinical descriptions of severe malnutrition. He's forcing us to witness the physical toll of war, how it literally hollows out people, especially the most vulnerable little ones.
So what Achebe is doing here, it's this incredibly powerful thing called tragic realism. He's not trying to make suffering seem poetic or noble. Absolutely not. He's showing it to us in all its grim, authentic horror, to force us, the readers, to actually confront it, to think about it, to feel something.
But then, right in the middle of this landscape of decay and total despair, Achebe does something amazing. He shifts the camera, so to speak. He zooms in on one single extraordinary act. And against this backdrop of just universal suffering, one mother's love becomes this powerful act of defiance.
And this contrast right here, this is the pivot for the entire poem. Achebe tells us that the suffering has gone on for so long that most mothers have just gone numb. They've ceased to care. Can you imagine that? But this mother, she's different. She resists that kind of emotional death. Her love is still there. And that's what makes what she does next so incredibly powerful.
And this leads to one of the most haunting phrases I think I've ever read in a poem, a ghost smile. I mean, just think about those two words together. It's not a real smile, obviously. It's the memory of one, a faint echo. It's the feeling of hope and dignity, literally on the verge of being snuffed out. But it's not quite gone yet.
And it's no accident that he repeats the word ghost. He says ghost smile and ghost of a mother's pride. It's so intentional. It's telling us that everything here is fading away. Her smile, her pride, her child's very life. It's this powerful metaphor for trying to hold on to the last little bit of your humanity when the world is doing everything it can to strip it away from you. Then Achebe does something just brilliant and devastating. He reminds us of the past. He brings up this memory of a normal life, a life where combing your child's hair was just a simple daily thing you did, a little act of love before breakfast in school. And bringing up that memory of normalcy, it just makes the current reality 1,000 times more heartbreaking. And then he delivers the final, absolutely devastating line. This simple act of caring for her son, who is still alive, has already turned into a funeral rite. She's performing an act of love that is, at the exact same time, an act of mourning. Just, wow. Let's just break that down for a second, because it's everything. Combing hair, that's an act of love and care for the living. Putting flowers on a grave, that's an act of remembrance and grief for the dead. And in this one single motion, this mother fuses those two completely opposite rituals into one. She knows her son is dying, she knows it, but her love just demands that she give him this one last act of dignity, this final gesture of care. So the big question is, why? Why does this short, incredibly brutal poem still hit so hard, decades after it was written? To answer that, we kind of have to zoom out and look at the bigger, universal truths it's really talking about. At its core, this poem touches on the most fundamental parts of being human. Yeah, it's about a mother's love for sure, but it's also a powerful anti-war statement. It's about suffering, yes, but I think more importantly, it's about the resilience of human dignity in spite of that suffering. And it's about that unique, terrible pain of knowing you're about to lose someone you love. And I think that's the ultimate takeaway here. This poem, for all its darkness, isn't just about despair. It's about finding a flicker of light in the absolute darkest of places. That mother's quiet, defiant act of love, it becomes this incredible testament to the endurance of the human spirit, even when things are at their worst. So, ultimately, the poem kind of leaves us with a question to wrestle with. Achebe seems to find the answer in a mother's final act of care for her dying son. He's suggesting that even when absolutely everything else is lost, dignity can still survive. It can live on in one simple, quiet gesture of love. And that is a truly haunting and profound thought to leave you with.